I'm Sean White, and today we're meditating on taking a fall. So here's some grim statistics for you. 1 out of 4 adults over the age of 65 will be involved in a fall in some point in their life. 1 out of every 5 of those falls will result in a serious injury. And if you've fallen once, your risk of falling again has been increased by 50%. Why am I bringing all this bad news onto you? Because this is something that is pretty serious and something that I would like to address. We're a couple of weeks away from fall, and you know I like bad puns, so that's why we're talking about falls. This is a serious topic, though. Right? There is an entire industry that has been devoted to this, and I'm not going to say it. You know, you can hear it in your own head. You know what's happening, right? But this is something that we need to be mindful of, particularly as we're getting older. And if we're younger, like I always say, the things that I'm doing now for my health is not just for now. It's for 20, 30 years into the future. Everything that I'm working on now is so I can live a longer and healthier life moving forward. So that's why we're going to talk about some of this stuff, because the reality is it is very serious, right? When I say 1 in 5 falls results in a serious injury, we're talking about bone breaks and fractures, right? This can cause a lack of mobility in somebody. You break a hip, you can't get around. Now you've also lost a little bit of your independence and your freedom, right? There could be blunt force trauma. It can hit your head on the way down. It could lead to fatalities, right? And besides the physical aspects of it, there is the psychological aspect of it as well. People that have fallen may begin to suffer what's known as photophobia, which is a fear of falling, right? And suffering through this may cause you to maybe not do the things that you had been doing when you had a fall. And it could be something as simple as just going for a walk, right? You might be afraid, like, if I go for a walk, I'm going to fall again, so I'm not going to do that. That brings up a whole multitude of other like health issues and stuff. So this is why I want to talk about it. So let's start by talking about the causes of falls. So the biggest culprit on falls tend to be difficulties in walking or difficulties with balance. And I know what you might be thinking. No duh. Like that, it sounds pretty obvious, right? But we're going to talk about a couple of different factors involved in that. And the first one I'm going to talk about, you may not be as familiar with. It's called proprioception. This is how our body relates to itself in the world physically, right? It's I can bring the science guy back, but I'm not going to do that. Essentially, there's sensors all over your body, and they relay information to your brain and allows you to understand where you are in the world. This is what allows you, hopefully, to be able to close your eyes and touch your nose, right? You understand where your hand is, you understand where your face is. You don't have to think about it at all. So this is what the proprioception is. And it helps with like other things, like just being able to walk without concentrating on every single footstep that you're taking. Now, this can get impaired either temporarily. If you've ever thought about like when you're tired, and you're really tired and you feel like you can't even make your body move the way that you want it to, that's a temporary proprioception impairment. Also, maybe if you've been drinking too much. I think it's happened to at least me. I don't know about you, but at least me. But other weird things, like if you've lost a lot of weight quickly, right? You may not be as comfortable with your body and with your body movements. That can cause it. Now, there can also be acute or permanent impairments, and this can be caused by different things such as illnesses. Think about multiple sclerosis. Parkinson's are two really kind of big, more obvious ones. But there can be things like joint illnesses like arthritis, things along these lines. Now this becomes a lot more serious, right? When there's acute or permanent. So a couple of things to look out for. a couple of symptoms of this. If you find that you are kind of falling or tripping while walking over flat, even surfaces, that's a bit of a red flag. If you find that you just really don't have any sort of good idea or control over your own body strength, like if you go to try to open something and you try like way too hard, that's a red flag. Balance issues obviously are a red flag, but also just having uncoordinated body movements, right? If you're trying to do something and your body's just not responding the way that you want it to, these are flags. At this point in time, I would recommend going to see your general practitioner. There are tests that can be done for this to make sure that it isn't or it is, and this way you can like find out. Now, other causes of falls, one of the biggest ones I would say is lower body weakness, right? This can impact us in a lot of different ways. So we may not be able to get our feet up as high as we want. We may not be able to get up, say like out of a seat or something like that. We may, trip and we don't have the flexibility and the strength to catch ourselves as we start to fall. I've actually seen this in a family member twice, actually, both times very scary, and I believe that the cause of the falls were predominantly because they didn't get their feet up high enough and they tripped over something or they tripped over themselves. So these are things that we have to like look out for. Other things may be things like the medications you're on, right? You might be on a medication that makes you a little like dizzy and throws off your balance a little bit. That being said, it could also be nutrition, right? Like if you have low blood sugar, if you've ever had it where your blood sugar is low and you try to stand up quickly, and then all of a sudden you get like dizzy and maybe like black out, that can be a cause of it. Vision problems, maybe you're just not seeing things properly. You might be tripping over stuff because you're not seeing it. That becomes a huge thing. Household hazards, right? You might have like a carpet that's not tacked down like properly. You might have dog toys laying around, or children toys laying around, or shoes, or like whatever. There might be something that's impeding your progress, and then you might like trip over it. That might cause a fall. There might be a slippery surface. Bathtubs are a big culprit of that, right? It's like if you don't have proper handrails, trying to step over into a tub, into a potentially wet surface, that can definitely cause a fall. Now, the reality is, most of the time, falls aren't just because of one factor. There might be multiple factors involved that contribute to it. That whole idea, like I said, you have vision problems, you don't see the thing on the floor, you trip over it, you don't have the strength and the body mobility to catch yourself before you fall. That's three things now that have attributed to this fall. So these are the things that I want you to be mindful and I want you to like think about. So obviously some of the things we can address, vision problems. You might be able to do like some sort of surgery or glasses and stuff like that, home hazards, cleaning up, things like the proprioception. Tai Chi is a really good thing for that. But what I want to look at next is just one of the things that I think that we can really work on, and we should be working on, doing a couple of balance exercises that are going to be good for helping develop our lower body strength, keeping it up, and then maybe helping us to prevent having a fall. So let's talk about those. So when I'm working with clients, particularly more senior clients about balance, I have a whole like worksheet. I have a whole bunch of exercises that I think are great. So I'm going to go over three of those with you now, and I think these are like my three favorite ones because they kind of work different things. So let's go over these. So the first one I'm going to say is the sit to stand exercise. This is a major one. It's really simple in theory to do. So all you're going to do is you're going to sit on the edge of a chair and you're just going to raise yourself up, right? You're going to go from sitting to standing. And we're going to do this slowly, and we're going to do it, methodically. When we go to sit back down, when we go from staying to sitting, we're not just going to plop ourselves into the chair. We're going to make sure that we're engaging our muscles, we're engaging our core, so then this way we're sitting down, deliberately. If we just fall into it, we're not really working on anything. Now, if you can do it without holding on to anything, that's great. That probably means the strength in your glutes, thighs, calves are probably pretty good. I would still work on this occasionally. It's essentially just like doing a squat, and squats are a big part of like my workout routines, because there's a lot of stuff that I do in life that requires me to have that lower body strength, like paddleboarding and whatnot. But if you can't do it without using your hands, find a chair that has arms on it. Use your arms to help get you up and to help lower you down. Now, I want you to use them to help you, not to lift yourself up. While upper body strength can be like really good, particularly if you have a fall, of helping to get yourself back up, we want to make sure that we're concentrating on our lower body at this point in time. So if you're going to use your hands, try to use them as minimal as possible, and try to make sure that the majority of the work is being done by your lower body. Now, the next one that I really like is just doing marching in place, or I call them high knee raises, a couple of different names for them. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to stand and we're going to march in place, and we're going to try to bring our knees up as high as we can. Now, if you can't bring them up as high as I am doing here in this example, that's completely fine. You need to do what works for you, and don't compare yourself to other people, right? If you compare yourself to other people, you might start getting discouraged. Let that go right now. Do what you can do and do the best that you can do. So this is going to be the same thing though. We're going to march in place. We're going to try to get our feet up as high as possible. Like I said before, this is part of a reason why people fall, is they don't get their feet up high enough. Then they trip over things. The soles of their shoes might kind of catch on the floor. Then there's a little bit of a stumble. You might not be able to catch yourself. This is how falls happen. So once again, if you can stand in place and just do the marching in place, that's great. If your balance isn't there, grab a chair, grab a kitchen counter, grab a table, grab anything, and just hold on to it and keep your balance that way and go through the steps. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is something called hip abductions. These I love. They look weird, but they're really, really good. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to stand on one foot, and you're going to lift the other foot away from your body out to the side, right? You're going to try to raise them as high as you can. This is going to help not only stretch out the hips a bit, which is why they're called hip abductions, but it also works on the lateral muscles of your legs, of your thighs. And this is really good for helping, I keep saying it, that catching yourself if something happens, if you stumble a little bit. Being able to move that leg out to the side and having the strength in it is really going to be able to help you if you potentially have a fall or if you have a stumble like that. So we're going to do it on both sides. So we're going to raise on the right side, we're going to raise on the left side. Once again, if the balance is not there, grab a counter, grab a chair, hold on to something, and just do it that way. We're working on developing the muscles. We're not so much worrying about, having perfect balance right off the bat. So those are my three big exercises, I think, for starting to work on balance things. Obviously there's more. If this is something that is a concern of yours, get in touch with me. Go to our website, sign up for a consultation. We can have a talk. We can discuss maybe working together on something. It is really, really an important topic to me, and something that I think people need to be a little bit more mindful of, because you might not be having issues now, and that's great, but you don't want to wait until you are having issues before you start doing something, right? We want to make sure that we're planning for our future and we're investing in ourselves for our future. So I hope this is giving you something to think about, maybe some things to start trying now before you start running into problems. So if you liked what you heard in this video, click the like button, let your friends know what we got going on here. If you want to hear more of what I got to say, then subscribe, turn on notifications, find out when new videos are coming out, and leave me some comments down below. I love engaging in conversation, love talking about things. So just drop some comments and let's talk. Or like I said, this is something that you feel like might be something that you want to work on in the future, get in touch with me, and then we can talk and see if it's something that we can work on together. So until we speak again, be safe, be well, and be kind to everybody.